We are living in a time of many changes and challenges. All of our lives are subject to sudden and radical change. Consider the fires in the past year in California and all of the climate disasters globally. Tens, even hundreds of thousands of lives are affected. More are affected or will be by the changes in our job markets and the coming influence of artificial intelligence. We all need to be prepared and know how to handle change. However, I'm concerned that my communities are struggling to heal. As a realtor, I have been trying to help fire victims where I can, but this has exposed me to many desperate situations. There's a huge number of people who remain defeated and stuck and unprepared to lift themselves up. Many who have been affected by unforeseen change are unable to move on into their new day. Many feel their lives have already ended. I want so much for all of them. Most of all, I want them to experience their new day. There is always a new day. My life has been an adventure through very good and very bad. I suffered the full range of defeatist, depressing self-doubt and debilitating emotions which were controlling my life. I battled with drug addiction and other destructive things, trying to mask my pain. I had a very challenging beginning with a mother who repeatedly called me a monster when I was very, very young and abused me off and on all of my life until she died at 83. I had to run away when I was 12 after she tried to kill me with a butcher knife. I had to start thinking and acting like an adult when I was about 10 for survival. And I was absolutely sure I knew everything about life. Laughing out loud now, but I really did. I realized I had to depend on myself. I was on my own island. I had a huge chip on my shoulder. I felt the world owed me something. I didn't know where to turn or how to change myself, but I knew I had to change. I had to find a way that I could be more positive and productive. I searched and searched. Finally, I stumbled upon a small book on constructive living about 4 decades ago, which helped me. The simplicity of how I could make small changes just hit home instantly, and it has stuck with me through the decades. I had to fight hard for my survival, and I forgave my mother many times. It was not easy, and it kept coming back up in my life. But I have finally forgiven her completely. It wasn't her fault. Mental illness can be a bitch. I worked to retrain my brain and to eliminate limiting beliefs imprinted on my subconscious. I also work to open my heart. The work continues as I speak. I've had a successful career. Well, you might say I've had several successful careers because I've had to start over many times. And I love myself and I love my life. But I couldn't say that years ago. How many of you have had to set your feelings aside and just do what needed to be done, like facing an enemy or any other major challenge? It was not easy for me to get out of bed and the dishes didn't wash themselves, but I started by just doing my best to be active just a few minutes a day. It was work. It was literally physical, like getting up when the worst jet lag was knocking me back down. I started with only a couple minutes a day, consciously setting my debilitating feelings aside by doing something good and effective, like washing the dishes. With practice, slowly, I found that my negative feelings gave way to new positive ones. My behaviors were influencing my feelings for the better. So I knew that I had to continue to do the work. I was learning to change my state, and it was not easy at first. I had to learn to live for a new day. I had to learn to live for a new day, no matter how bad today was. Slowly, minutes of productivity turned into more and more minutes. The budding, forward-looking feelings felt good. I became energetic. I worked on believing in myself. I worked on valuing my strengths, and I wrote a new resume for myself. I recognized that my negative images set in childhood were deep in my subconscious, and I had to learn how to rebuild my core beliefs. I had to find out how to reach my subconscious with new beneficial beliefs, which is not a simple thing to do. With work, my life slowly began to blossom with each new day. There can be no miracle unless we work to create it. Each new day is a miracle. And with each new day, we can choose to live in gratitude and forgiveness. Don't you want to set your own sails in life? Don't you want to live for your new day? I believe that we all have a core desire to chart our own special course in life. I took charge of mine, and the peace of mind is priceless. I love adventure and nature, and I had the great life experience, which I loved, living and sailing on a 57-foot catamaran for several years. While the ocean is often welcoming and a beautiful place, it can also explode in anger and become directed at annihilating you, the boat, and the crew. On my watches and major storms, which often rage for days, I had to do the job of keeping the vessel upright and on course as I stood alone against the howling winds as gigantic waves tossed us about violently. I was nearly paralyzed with fear. Even knowing where I was, I felt lost, as I was often hundreds, even thousands of miles from shore in the middle of the vast unknown. The worst part was that when I got off watch, I had to go to sleep to prepare for my next watch. Impossible. I had to sleep, and so I did. I had been practicing setting my feelings aside and doing what needed to be done. These skills had helped me change my feelings, attitude, and life for the better, and enabled me to sleep as the boat continued to be tossed about, crashing through the massive waves. It has been a process and a practice that has seen me through many lift myself off the floor moments. It has worked every time. And with time, my psyche got stronger and my life has gotten better with each start over moment. I didn't know if this was really going to work when I started. However, now I am finally able to live my new day and to realize my purpose and live my passion. Life can change in an instant. If I could retrain my brain to set my dark feelings aside long enough to fill myself up with useful ones, you can as well. No, it's not easy. You must be committed to take charge of your own destiny and to live in your purpose and passion. Do the work. It is a practice you can learn. The reward can be a new life. How many of you would jump at the chance to sail all over the world on a comfortable yacht with your own stateroom and friends on board with you? Remember that boat I mentioned earlier? I loved my life at sea, frolicking with the dolphins, exploring new countries and islands, meeting new cultures and people who shared their lives with us, and we reciprocated. I planned on sailing around the world on her. Her name was I Love You Too. Well, after years and logging 44,000 sea miles throughout the Pacific as the celestial navigator, there was no GPS in those days. All that I owned and loved was on board that beautiful boat. But finally, I left because my intuition was telling me it was becoming too much of a party boat and becoming less and less safe, mainly due to excessive drinking. There was one harrowing experience, but that story will have to wait for another day. About a year after I left, the boat and all souls on board were lost in a heavy storm. I will never know what really happened. The grief was overwhelming. I struggle with survivor's guilt to this day. I took the time to grieve, head under the covers, and after a period of just letting it all out, I got up and got on with life, one step at a time. I took another evaluation of what I wanted in my future life. I again reviewed and updated my resume. I practiced meditations and incantations and lifted myself off the floor. Then I went after my next goal. The pain remains, but it is a bittersweet memory. I wouldn't give up those memories for anything. I encourage all of you to explore the practice of taking control of your feelings. Begin practicing how to switch your state from the negative to the positive on demand. Set new, ambitious goals and strive daily to attain them. Find things that give you good feelings. Keep building on it. Celebrate the small changes and know, if not constantly stimulated, feelings will fade. Yes, even the darkest, most vivid ones. Work on focusing on what is good. We all have something to be grateful for, even if it is very little. Allow yourself to dream about good things. What you focus on is what you will manifest. The more you focus on good things, the less you will focus on the bad things. Yes, it is work. It is not instant. You must build new muscles around your feelings and beliefs. You can gain control over your feelings and your life with practice. I believe in you. And I know from experience, a few adjustments to your sails can cause wonderful feelings, and you will find new experiences of fulfillment will come to you. You will find that you are looking forward to each new day. There is always a new day. Take responsibility to set your own sails on your own special course in life. Chart your progress. Leave behind the darkness and sail into the light. Be resolved to recognize your strengths and eliminate your limiting beliefs. Take the time to reinforce your positive beliefs and know what you offer to your family and to the world. Do things you can be proud of. Live the life you want to live. Do what you want to do. This is all available to you if you envision it and reach for it with intention. The power is within you to manifest your dreams. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve." If you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way. A goal is a dream with a deadline. Despite my hardships, grief, and having been forced to start over many times, I know that there is a new day because I reached out for it and sailed into it. And there have been many more beautiful new days. I now look forward to each tomorrow and each new day. You too can experience your new day and new life. Live for a new day. There is always a new day. Thank you.